Welcome to this week's Chinuch Hashkafa message. This week is Parshas Bahar B'chukaisai, and I wanted to touch on something coming from the Parsha, but extending it to something very fundamental, but also very practical in terms of an idea to strengthen within our children's education and within our own life, showing an example of that concept. Of course, this week's Parsha is the mitzvah of Shemitah. Mitzvah of Shemitah is a mitzvah which takes a lot of bitochen. It means a farmer has to give up an entire year, an entire parnasa, trusting that Hashem will provide for them, as the Pasuk tells us, that if you ask, what are we going to eat, the year of Shemitah and the year afterwards, and so on, V'tzivisias brachasi, Hashem promises He will send His bracha and provide for those that keep Shemitah. And of course, a general discussion to be had around this is the whole concept of emunah and bitochen. But it starts from something even more fundamental. One of the lessons of Shemitah, as it is with Shabbos, is the reminder that even when we do things, even when we put in effort, even when we work for something, ultimately nothing happens without the Eibishter. Everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The bracha, the success, the efforts we put in life is the kelis, the vessel that we make, but it only happens from Hashem. Such a fundamental idea. But I wanted to touch on a practical application of this, a training which I think we can work on a little bit better ourselves, and particularly with our children, to get used to that concept that everything in our lives is dependent on Hashem's bracha. Everything is dependent on the will of Hashem and the bracha that Hashem gives us. And this is the concept of what Chazal tell us, Shem Shemaim Shogur Befiv, that Hashem's name, so to speak, should always be on our lips. I share this with you because I've noticed just recently, and with young children, sometimes when I meet them and I ask them how they are, I say to a young child, how are you? And the child will say, good, or good, thank you, forgetting to say, good, Baruch Hashem. Or, tomorrow I'm going to play with a friend. Where's the Imirza Hashem? It seems such an obvious thing, but it takes training. We can't just take it for granted that it will happen. So we need to have that discussion with our children, first of all on a philosophical level, that everything, nothing happens without Hashem wanting it to happen or without Hashem helping it to happen. You might make a plan tomorrow to go play with a friend, to meet up with a friend, to go out with a friend, or whatever the case might be, but it won't happen unless Hashem wants it to happen. So if you talk about your plan, you need to say, Im Yirtzeh Hashem. If you talk about something which you know that Hashem wants you to do, I know my father would always tell me this. If I told him we're going to do something, he would always remind me to say Mirza Hashem. But if I told him we're going to do a mitzvah, like tomorrow I'm going to shul, or I'm going to go to a shir, he would always tell me that's when you have to say Be'ezras Hashem, because of course Hashem wants you to daven. Of course Hashem wants you to go to shul, but you still need His help. Be'ezras Hashem. So Mirza Hashem, Be'ezras Hashem, or Baruch Hashem. All these things are such important things, and I think we need to first of all think about, are we doing that? Do we always make sure to add Baruch Hashem, Mirza Hashem, Be'ezras Hashem? And are we training our children? It's about just, not in a harsh way, not to do it in a lecture fashion, but just, you ask a child, how was your day? And the child will say, good. As children often do, they don't speak much. They come back from school. You say, how was your day? Good. Just remind them, good what? Good Baruch Hashem. That's it. I want to go next door. I'm going to go to my friend's house. Imirza Hashem. I'm going to go to shul, Be'ezras Hashem. All of these expressions are so part of growing up in a Torah way, in a Jewish way. But sometimes we have to just highlight it, have that discussion, and remind children, Shem Shamayim Shogur Befiv, to always have Hashem's name on our lips, coming not just as a routine action or ritual, but coming from the emunah, which we have to discuss with them and remind them, and having that discussion that nothing happens in this world. Nothing can happen in your own normal child life, where there's just a simple thing, like meeting up with someone, without HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanting it to happen and without Him helping it to happen. Have a wonderful day and a good Shabbos.